So let's see a demo of data type and identifier. So let's start with the our Hello World program, what we wrote in our previous example, previous videos. So this is again, I am in the same website, cpp.sh, and you can type the URL in the text box in the right hand side of this institute.academy platform, and then you can start writing the code. So let's start understanding it. So let me just remove this hello world line where I am going to write some meaningful program now. So first, data type. As I have told, C++ has some primitive data type. So those primitive data types are int. And if you want to define an identifier, declare an identifier or variable, then what you have to do, you have to specify the data type name, that is int, the type of data, that is data type int, followed by the variable name or the identifier name. Let's say this is I, equals, then let's say 10. Int denotes a whole number in C++ program, whole number. And if you want to define a floating point number, that is a numerical value with decimal point, then you have to use float data type followed by the name of the identifier equals 10.20 or something, 22 or whatever, anything, any number with some decimal points. So that is float. Then if you have some kind of characters, if you want to denote some character or store some character in some identifier, then what you have to do, first you have to define the character data type, which is char, C-H-A-R, followed by the name of the variable. I'm specifying it as C, then equals, then let's say the character is A. I want to store A inside the character C. So here just notice one thing. For numerical value, I have just written 10. For floating point number, I have just written 10.23. But whenever it comes to character, then I have to use this single quote. Whatever character I want to store inside this char variable or identifier, I have to enclose it inside this single quote. And then what we have discussed is string. So that can be like string s equals abcd. So now let us try to see, run this, whether all the data types and characters are same, characters are okay or not, data types and the identifiers are same or correct or not. So let's run it. So I have seen that there are some error. So the error is because, why? Because as I told in my previous video that there should be a semicolon in the end of each C++ line. So now as you can see, all these data types and identifiers are present in C++, and that's why there is no error. Now let's say if there is, and also there is another type of variable, as I have told, bool b equals, let's say, true. It can be true or false. So that is it. So as you can see, the data type followed by the variable name and then followed by this optional value. Now if you want to print the value of each of these identifier, you can do that. So in order to do that, just remember what function did we use to print the value. We have used cout, and after cout, these less than symbol, two less than symbol, and after that, if you want to print a variable, then you just type the identifier name, variable or identifier, that identifier name. So just, and if you just run it, then you will see that the values stored inside this identifier have been printed. For example, like this. So now you can understand that what is happening. So data type followed by the variable name, then an optional initial value. I have stored 10 inside I, and now I am printing I here. The same way you can print any of the values. So instead of I, if you just write C in here, so what will happen? It will print the value stored inside this identifier C. So if I just run it, as you can see, it printed A because C stores A. So like this. And if I just try to print S, as you can see, if I print S, it is expected that it will print ABCD because ABCD is stored inside S. Now, as I have told, these are all variables. Variable meaning they can change their value. So it is possible to change the value of S from ABCD to, let's say, constitute. I have changed the value of S to constitute. So here, if I just print the value of S once again in here, what we will see is that the value of S have been changed to constitute here, and then it will print the value. So let me run it. And as you can see in here, for the first time when S stored just ABCD, it printed ABCD for this line number 11, and then the value of S have been changed, and then this then when I have printed cout S, then it has printed constitute in here. Now these are all variables, so that is why I can change the value. Now you can change the value of either I or A for C or whatever it is. But now let us see what happens if I use const over here, const. If I just use constant over here, then what will happen is, let's run this program and you can easily understand. As you can see in here, as I have told earlier, that whenever you will use this term constant before this identifier declaration and the value, you cannot change the value any time in the program. And now what is happening? The compiler first saw that, okay, a string S is defined as constant, so it is not supposed to change the value. And then whenever it found that, okay, you tried to change the value once again, it just threw some error. So that's what is happening. The same thing is true for any of these variable. I have just shown with string, but you can try it out with any variable, with I, F, C, S, B, whatever it is. So let's see another example with int I. So int I value is 10. So let us try to change it. So let me get rid of this line. So int I equals 10. So if I just print cout I, then if I just run it now, let me get rid of this cout s also because I'm just focusing on I. So if I just run it, as you can see that because of this line, it is printing the value stored in I. Now, if I just try to change the value, let's say I equals, instead of 10, I am changing the value to 20, and then if I just print it, it is printing the new value of I, that is 20. Now, whenever I will change this I to constant instead of variable by using the const keyword, then if I try to run this program, you will see that there is an error because it is constant. You are not supposed to change the value of constant anywhere.